Welcome back, heroes. Join us for part 5 as DEKU is rescued by 6 enigmatic widows from the future. Let's dive into the next chapter of this thrilling saga. Emily, Reiko, was surrounded by enemies, but she remained calm. She looked at each of her enemies and stayed calm. Oh yes, she had everything calculated coldly. She could feel not only people but anything that weighed the same as a human, and in this city engulfed in chaos, there was plenty to choose from as projectiles. A member of the army decided to be confident, while flaunting his flames. The brat is clearly at a disadvantage, what do you say we violate her? They all began to laugh. Well, let's see how well this goes for you, shall we? She finally said, and the villains launched themselves at her. The girl sighed and raised her arms, just like a puppeteer would with string puppets. Then, objects flew from everywhere, trash cans, shelves, nightstand drawers, filing cabinet drawers. Even some members of the League were propelled into their own allies. My kosei is posterguous, anything that weighs the same as an average person can be controlled by me. And she's not alone, said Lizard, Setsuna, who began sending parts of his body in cubic forms to surround the villains and fall on them like projectiles. We're here, said Mines, Narengeki Shota, perfectly positioned so that some controlled by Emily rebounded off him and shot out at great speed against the villains. As for how Spiral, Sen, managed to get into the midst of that tornado of projectiles and, spinning his legs, launched enhanced kicks against the members of the Liberation Army, who were slowly being incapacitated, especially by the number of blows they received from Emily's posterguous or the speed at which the objects hit Mines. Good job, Class 1B, shouted Emily, Lizard, Mines, and Spiral, seeing the nearly 40 villains unconscious. All Might, Endeavor, Vlad King, Kamui Woods, Edgeshot, arrived at the floor where the leader of the Liberation Army was. Heroes collaborating with villains, said the subject with orange hair and a long nose, now I've seen everything. Twice's clones launched themselves at the villain, but that black spot on his skin spread to his arm and struck the clones, destroying part of the office. Texas Smash, exclaimed All Might, throwing his right punch, but mentally preparing it to have the strength of a United States of Smash, with enough force to send anything flying with the wind pressure. Incandescent Fist, Hell Curtain, exclaimed Endeavor, throwing both fists backward while concentrating all his flames in one point. Then he thrust his arms forward, emitting a huge blanket of flames over the leader of the Liberation Army. Ketsueki Fujikome, Kokun. Blood Containment, Cocoon, exclaimed Vlad King, launching blood from his knuckles, and it reached Redestro just as he was enlarging his right arm, only to be trapped in a cocoon of crystallized blood so thick he couldn't move, and this last part left him incredulous, just before All Might and Endeavor's special moves. Sensei hit Subaku Uroshi Saro. Preventive Chain Prison, exclaimed Kamui Woods, capturing him with his wood, aiding Vlad King in turn, while enduring the powerful blow of All Might's wind pressure, shattering his wood but allowing it to catch fire from Endeavor's flames. Senko Razan Nuki Te. Drilling Spiral Lance, to ensure Edgeshot's success in defeating him, he flattened and twisted himself into a sharp rope and then pierced Redestro with his arm to stop his movements. Redestro's screams from Endeavor's flames were heard, and then came the blow from All Might's air pressure, sending him flying, but allowing Edgeshot to exit Redestro's body at the last second, while the villain fell from 380 floors high. None saw how Twice saved the hostage. The villains launched themselves against Creati, who created a kind of bazooka, but as the projectile approached, it opened and released something. A network of metal chains with such wide and heavy links? Growled a villain. Are you crazy? Growled another villain, feeling the weight beginning to crush him and feeling pain in his body. I can't lift this, whimpered a third villain out of the nearly 15 there. It's your turn, said Creati, as she walked away swaying her hips. Musabetsu Hoden 2-man Boruto. Indiscriminate discharge, 2 million volts, exclaimed her partner Chargebolt, Denki, electrocuting the villains. Metal is an electrical conductor, said Creati, as she heard the screams of the villains behind her. She saw the teachers and other professional heroes approaching. Her companions began to gather the defeated villains, both from the League and the Army, in one place. In another timeline, if Jade Knight, also known as Midoriya Izuku, had seen and chased Shigaraki Tomura, also known as Shimura Tenko, through the alleyways, it could have had a different kind of symbolism and meaning. We're talking about a timeline that never happened, where Midoriya Izuku never met All Might, and the hero never passed on his kosei, the only kosei that could be passed down from one generation to another, to fight for good, truth, justice. One for all. That kosei comes from two others, and in turn, from a third, very dangerous one, in the hands of a criminal currently behind bars, called All for One. That man, believing his younger brother was just a Mukasei, gifted him with an augmented Kosei, physical strength, speed, agility, and endurance, unaware of his brother's own Kosei, which was meant to be passed from one person to another. Shigaraki Tomura was taken under the wing of that villain, who gave birth to One for All, but Jade Knight was not taken under All Might's wing, nor did he receive his Kosei, due to the intervention of 6 enamored women, who used nanotechnology so their husband could achieve his dream. That wasn't important to Jade Knight, who didn't have a close relationship with All Might, nor did he ever see him as a mentor, but merely as a teacher in the classroom, as he already carried the dreams of these 6 ladies, who gave him their hearts and offered him the ability to achieve his dream through genetic manipulation. Shigaraki Tomura was a villain. Jade Knight was a hero, as simple as that for the green-haired one. Accept that you've already lost, Shigaraki Tomura. Jade Knight said, cornering him in an alley. He saw him turn around, so he used the black whip to cling to a lamppost, dodging the villain who had turned in a split second and tried to touch him. You're fast, Tomura said angrily to the boy. I'm just quick and know how to analyze things. Especially the human body, the young hero smiled, infuriating his opponent. But Shigaraki calmed down and reasoned the words of the green-haired one, frowning and growling. I just said he knew when I would turn to attack him. The special protection of incorrect use of Kosei is already here, and they've brought several trucks and anti-Kosei collars to give you and yours a nice new home called Tartarus. At least. Unless I escape first, Shigaraki said smiling. He shouldn't trust himself. This guy was similar to his sensei, possessing more than one Kosei. He had to defeat him quickly and escape. You'll have to beat me first, the green-haired one said, having already analyzed his opponent. His smile widened. That can be arranged. He touched the lamppost, forcing Jade Knight to jump, and when he saw where he would land, he touched the ground, disintegrating it. But the smile disappeared when 2 whips passed him by, confusing him, and the next thing Shigaraki knew, his rival had propelled himself and delivered a powerful kick to his chest, sending him flying. Then he fell to the ground, rolling embarrassingly and reaching the main street. That hurt, the villain grunted, clutching his chest. Since he didn't know about vampire, he believed it was just super strength from his opponent. He touched the ground and began to disintegrate everything until he was sent flying by Emily and her posterguis, directly towards Creati, now with a scimitar that cut atomic level to her rival and managed to land a blow on his back, making him scream in pain. Creati's sword dissolved into paper. It was very difficult to create, and she did it on the fly. The atomic structure was not entirely correct due to the speed at which she created it. Following that, he received a powerful kick from Froppy straight to the chin, followed by a bombardment from Lizard's fragmented body, a high-frequency sonic clash from Earphone Jack, and a high-ranking blistering burn from Pinky's acid. Shigaraki saw Lizard and, furious, extended his hand to touch her face, only for the girl's face to split in 2, leaving her decapitated but intact. The surprise was so great that Jade Knight sent the leader of the League of Villains flying with his repulsion, adding as much force as possible. Jade Knight, send me after him. Lizard requested as she ran, jumped in the air, delivering a kick. When his wife jumped, he gave her his momentum, with 3 times more force. Even if that meant intense joint pain for him. First, Shigaraki felt the fractures in his back from the impact against the brick wall before receiving a powerful kick straight to the stomach, causing him to spit blood. Falling behind for a few seconds, Creati created a mace. Something she had devised in her time, more than just a metal head and a wooden handle, but one that had an internal system that cost her too many lipids, causing her monstrous hunger. Earphone Jack, the purple-haired one, turned her gaze to her, who showed her the final part of the handle of her mace. The punk rock heroine took a while to see the headphone jacks, but immediately connected her lobes and began to send sound waves, making the mace vibrate, causing slight discomfort in the arms of the black-haired one, who ran towards the green-haired one. Lizard took advantage of Tomura trying to shake off the pain from the previous blow and gave him a powerful kick to the face and a blow to the stomach so he couldn't move until the pain subsided. Creati, Lizard stepped aside as Shigaraki was struck by a mace. Creating weapons like that sword, which cut at such a deep level, was very difficult, and the last time she did it, she would have been maybe 30 years old, causing crow's feet around her eyes. Right now, she would surely have them due to this new meticulously modified war mace, for many years now, with thousands of calculations in her personal notebook. Take this. This mace not only looks pretty, Tomura, the blow not only condensed my physical strength, but due to the weight of the head, it's as if 10 people just hit you. Plus, I sent vibrations through the head, thanks to Earphone Jack's sound waves. When Tomura managed to regain some composure, he vomited blood and bile. He looked angrily at his enemies, only to receive a new kick from Froppy and a final blow from Jade Knight, rendering him unconscious. The news spoke of the heroes who intervened during the villain war in DEKU and how a monumental disaster was averted. Classes 1A and 1B of UA were praised by civilians for saving them, earning fame and notoriety, gaining the status of heroes and receiving permission from the Hero and Kosei Commission to act as heroes under any future circumstances. After graduating from UA Academy, Jade Knight, also known as Midoriya Izuku, would become the new symbol of peace and leader of the hero group, the Night Circle, after fervently rejecting Pinky, also known as Midoriya Mina and mother of a beautiful girl named Kasu, though her full name was Kasatera, a fluffy sponge cake. Mina wanted to name their group the Knight's Harem and tried everything to convince her husband to change his name to Jade King or Jade Sultan, but it didn't work. Ashido Midoriya Kasu had jade green hair, like her father, peach-colored skin, black sclera eyes and yellow irises, like her mother, and she could produce acid from her hands. She was a very cheerful girl who liked teamwork and coordination. She was considered one of the best rescue heroines, surpassing her Aunt Aravati and her other mother Froppy. When Yaoyorozu Midoriya Momo became an adult and started taking care of her uncle Yaoyorozu's genetics laboratories, she came up with the idea of creating artificial quirks and realized that was what her husband had. Was time travel possible? She didn't know. But she did know that her beloved little Aiko was quirkless, so when her daughter turned 6, she gave her the quirk her father named First Element, Vampire, and when she turned 15, she inherited her mother's quirk. She had black hair with green highlights and the same large expressive green eyes as her father. Upon graduating from UA, she divided her life between being a model and being a heroine. Tokage Midoriya Wani was a boy who practiced athletics due to his great hyperactivity. The boy had green hair like his mother and black eyes like her. He also inherited his mother's autonomy and became a spy hero, like Setsuna, who was very proud of her little lizard. Jiro Midoriya Kokyu was a teenage girl with long purple hair and green eyes. She was like her mother. Not only did they look alike with the purple hair that her father loved so much and had the same quirk as her, earphone jack, to attack her opponents with sound waves. But one thing was to attack them on the battlefield using a guitar, and another very different thing was to use a guitar on stage. Although he liked both situations. Forming a visual kei band with some friends, they called themselves the Old and Golden Style Band. Asui Midoriya Kaoru became a swimming instructor, not wanting to be a hero like her parents, although she didn't mind, and both were proud that their daughter did something that made her immensely happy. Yanagi Midoriya Yurei had her father's hair but the same haircut as her mother and her blue eyes, leaving one of them covered by her hair. She was surprised when her mother showed her real evidence of the existence, not only of ghosts but also of demons and all kinds of creatures, joining the ranks of the PAR, Paranormal Aggression Response, of Reiko, also known as the heroine Emily, who fought against these kinds of beings. Izuku could only thank the 6 girls who touched his heart in another timeline, not only for saving his life, allowing him to fulfill his dream of being a hero, but also for giving him a family. Yes, life with his wives was definitely the best kind of life.